The Dance of the Dragons is unlike any other conflict in A Song of Ice and Fire because both sides have dragons, and not just one or two. At the peak of this conflict, there's more living dragons in the world since perhaps the Doom of Valyria, and almost all of them are about to be put to use. And if Fire and Blood is anything to go by, Season 3 is where it all goes down. But before we get there, it's worth reflecting on where things actually stand. Rhaenyra's side pulled off a desperate gamble that worked. They found new dragon riders for dragons that had been sitting around unclaimed. And on the other side, the Greens still have the single most terrifying dragon in the world. But is she really enough to tip the scale in their favor? In any case, let's run through every dragon that's still alive heading into Season 3, where they stand, and why they matter. Rhaenyra finds herself in a position of strength heading into next season. Aside from Stormcloud and Tyraxes, who are too small to be of use, her army has 7 dragons under their command, and potentially another one on the way that can be used in battle. Let's run through them. Syrax is the first dragon we see on screen in House of the Dragon. Ridden by Rhaenyra from an early age, she's one of the larger dragons remaining. But here's the thing, Syrax has never really been tested in battle. Rhaenyra wanted to use her against the Triarchy in Season 1, but was ultimately rejected by the Small Council. Since then, she's been used for travel on a few different occasions, but whether Rhaenyra plans to commit her to fight in Season 3 remains to be seen. Perhaps the most unique dragon alive, Caraxes is lean, mean, and serpentine. He's the most battle-hardened dragon fighting for Rhaenyra, and probably the second most dangerous dragon in the world, behind Vhagar. Caraxes and Daemon together pose the biggest threat their side can offer heading into Season 3. With years of experience dating back decades, and given where Daemon finds himself at the end of last season, we're bound to see Caraxes in action very soon. Baela's dragon, Moondancer, is young, agile, and fast, but she's also on the smaller side. Moondancer isn't winning a head-to-head slugfest against a larger dragon, but what she does have is a rider who isn't afraid to throw herself into the fire, as we saw last season when she chased off Sir Criston Cole. However, speed and nerve can only take you so far when the enemy has dragons that are older and larger than yours. In any case, Moondancer may not be the most fearsome dragon remaining, but she certainly has a rider that can make things interesting. Vermithor, also known as the Bronze Fury, was King Jaehaerys' dragon before he passed away. Vermithor has been riderless for decades, presumably sitting in a cave under Dragonstone for years, lonely but getting bigger and angrier. Daemon famously sang to him at the end of the first season, but it was ultimately Hugh Hammer, a common blacksmith, who actually claimed him. Hugh is virtually unproven as a dragon rider and in his loyalty to Rhaenyra, making him and Vermithor one of the biggest wildcards heading into next season. Still a young dragon, Vermax is ridden by Jacaerys Velaryon, Rhaenyra's eldest son and one of her most trusted allies. Vermax may not be the largest or the most terrifying dragon, but Jacaerys is bold enough to jump into action at any given moment, determined to prove himself a worthy heir to Rhaenyra's crown and avenge the death of his brother Lucerys. And with the conflict escalating on every front, it's only a matter of time before we see Vermax in action. Silverwing was Queen Alysanne's old dragon who, like Vermithor, hasn't had a rider in decades. During the Red Sowing, Silverwing was claimed by Ulf the White, a commoner from King's Landing known for his drinking. Ulf isn't exactly honorable, as proven by his behavior during the Season 2 finale, and like Hugh Hammer, his loyalty to Rhaenyra is one of the bigger questions hanging over the new season, making Silverwing another wildcard to look out for. The last time we saw Seasmoke in action was during the Siege of Bloodstone, where he rained fire on the Triarchy from above in devastating fashion. Seasmoke was Laenor Velaryon's dragon before he faked his own death and disappeared. Since then, we've seen him a couple of times in and around Driftmark and Dragonstone, until he finally chooses Adam of Hull as his next rider. Adam considers Seasmoke to be a blessing from the gods, and next season, we'll see if he can answer their call. Lastly, we have Sheepstealer, a wild dragon who's never had a rider. In the books, Sheepstealer was claimed by Nettles, a young woman who won him over by feeding him sheep. However, the show has been positioning Rhaena Targaryen to be the one to claim Sheepstealer instead. Rhaena has spent most of the show in the background, while everyone around her takes a piece of the action. If and when she does end up claiming Sheepstealer, it'll be interesting to see what she plans to do with him. When the Dance of the Dragons is breaking down into a simple math equation, the Greens are outnumbered by a large margin. How could they hope to stand a chance against Rhaenyra and her Legion of Dragons? Well, numbers aren't everything when you account for strategy, politics, and hidden agendas, and when you consider that they have a dragon that changes the entire complexion of the war, suddenly the math doesn't look so simple after all. In any case, here's what they have to work with. Last we heard of Sunfire, he was long in the dying, according to Sir Criston Cole, but no official confirmation of his death has been given yet, leaving a small window of opportunity for him to recover and make a comeback. However, even if Sunfire does survive, he would probably be of limited use thanks to the injuries he suffered during the Battle of Rook's Rest. We also don't really know if Aegon knows about Sunfire's status or has any intention of reuniting with him anytime soon, leaving their potential role in this war together up in the air. The Greens have a weapon that compensates for all their shortcomings. Vhagar is the single most powerful dragon in the world, with experience dating back to Aegon's conquest, and we've already seen glimpses of what she can do in battle. Smaller dragons don't stand a chance, and even larger, more experienced dragons have fallen victim to her. Vhagar is the reason why the Greens are still a threat despite being outnumbered. And in the hands of Aemon Targaryen, she's an absolutely terrifying sight for anyone who dares to stand against them next season. Dreamfire, written by Helaena, hasn't seen much screen time in House of the Dragon. According to Rhaenyra, Dreamfire is a formidable dragon, but because Helaena has no taste for riding, she doesn't really consider them a threat. Aemond has tried to force Helaena to ride Dreamfire into battle, but has yet to convince her. And honestly, it's hard to blame her after everything she's been through. But unfortunately for the Greens, until Helaena decides to ride, Dreamfire remains a powerful asset that they simply can't tap into. And that's a huge disadvantage in a war that'll come down to Dragonfire. Not much is known about Tessarion or her rider Daeron Targaryen, the youngest son of King Viserys and Queen Alicent, but according to Jasper Wild, Daeron and Tessarion will be joining in on the action soon. The first and only time we've seen her was in the Season 2 finale, marching alongside the Hightower army, so we can only assume that she'll be getting in the thick of it come Season 3. There's actually a few more dragons featured in Fire and Blood that haven't been shown or mentioned in House of the Dragon. The Cannibal, known for his cannibalistic tendencies, and Grey Ghost, a dragon known for his shy nature. The Cannibal developed a reputation for preying upon smaller dragons and dragon eggs. No one has ever claimed him, and those who've made the attempt have died in the process. Grey Ghost, on the other hand, preferred a diet of fish, as he was often seen snatching prey from the waters. No one has ever claimed him either, as he was very elusive and avoided men for years at a time. These dragons probably won't make it on screen in House of the Dragon, but it would be fun to hear about them in passing if there's time for it. So that's the entire roster of dragons heading into Season 3. 7 dragons have been officially claimed by Rhaenyra's side, with 1 more likely coming soon, and 4 that have been claimed by the Greens. The Dance of the Dragons is approaching its climax, and all these dragons you've just heard about, not all of them will make it to the end of the story. Some of them might not even last an episode, but in any case, that's it for me. Let me know in the comments which dragon you're looking forward to seeing the most in Season 3. As always, thank you for tuning in, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more A Song of Ice and Fire content. I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.